and the courage to seek the greater good. Bless our deliberations in the work of our hands. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Stand for the
Right. Thank you for that, Commissioner Williford. Okay. First, we've got our consent agenda. Board, you've had an opportunity to review this packet this evening. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the consent agenda be approved.
I second.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Tony Cozart, seconded by Commissioner Rob Williford. Is there any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? And motion carries. All right, that'll bring us into our introductions, recognitions, and presentations. And first, we've got the recognition of service for Angela Crawford, and I believe Dr. Cozart, Commissioner Cozart, you're going to handle that with Commissioner Hinman. Okay, next we're going to have a special presentation and recognition of our summer civic youth leadership program, our interns, we call them. And we've got Lina Howell, who's our 4-H cooperative extension agent here in Granville County.
Do you want to get the slideshow going? And then click one more time. All right. So the Granville County Summer Civic Youth Leadership Program is not only a mouthful, but a collaborative effort between Granville County government, our commissioners, Granville County 4-H, and all of our departments to provide an educational experience for rising seniors in Granville County. This program seeks to provide real-world, hands-on work experiences with local county departments, as well as equip the youth interns with knowledge of our county and the programs we have available to them. Each youth completing this internship must work a minimum of 120 hours, attend a 3-day orientation, become CPR certified through the American Red Cross, and attend weekly cohort days in a Leadership Granville style fashion to learn more about our county and the community that they get to call home. The teens were advised and influenced by many amazing community leaders this summer, but the 3 main advisors were Karen Evans, Kelly Hightower, and myself, Lina Howe. So at this time, our interns have prepared a presentation for you guys about what they did this summer. And I'd like to start by welcoming Miss Praley Williams.
Hi, good evening. My name is Praley Williams. I hope to be a police officer in the future, and eventually I want to work my way up to becoming a detective, SBI, FBI, go that route. Throughout the summer internship experience, I've learned so much about the county government that I really didn't know before. And I really got to know what their inner workings are within everything, and not to mention all the work they do and everything you guys provide for everybody. It's just an eye-opener. I hope to be one of the people to make it better one day, like this county, and to do what you guys do, and to just incorporate myself in a way that you guys have. And nervous. Give me a second. Okay. Okay. So I was able to go to several different locations this summer and help me get to know the county. While doing so, I traveled to the call center where I got to work with Miss Stacy Hicks at the 911 place and the other telecommunicators present. This location was probably the best experience for me, given the field I want to go into, and just the knowledge they provided to me, especially when it comes to how I can work my way up to get into that process and how that can be a filler career for me as I'm working my way up the way to the FBI title. Not to mention working under Mrs. Lina Howe and Mrs. Karen Evans at the Granville County 4-H camp and the tax administration office. They were more so fun because I loved working with both people, but I also got to know very great skills and just overall do some really cool stuff. Overall, it was a really great, fun summer, and honestly one of the best summers I've had in a while, but I had a great time, and thank you guys so much. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Destiny Harris, and like Praley said, this summer has been very, very interesting. But I enjoyed it. One of the departments that I've had the pleasure to go into was emergency management. Emergency management has been one of the best places that I have worked at during my time as an intern with the Summer Civic Leadership Program. The staff within the department, Mr. Ken and Mr. Jason, were very welcoming and treated me so well throughout the day that I was assigned to the department. Some of the things that I enjoyed doing while I was there was riding along with Mr. Ken while he was inspecting buildings, learning new things about inspections and how they work at different buildings, and getting the opportunity to spray the fire extinguisher. That was really, really cool. During my time at this department, they really stood out to me because, like I said in the overview, they really treated me well throughout the day. One act that stood out to me was when we was riding Mr. Ken and we was visiting different buildings, he would constantly remind me that if I felt unsafe or uncomfortable to just remind him, and I think that was really compassionate of him. This department really contributed to my life as well because I want to go into cybersecurity, so I just think that was really cool. I also got to visit the Thornton Library, and that's another location that I really enjoyed working at. The staff within this department were very welcoming as well, and I just felt like I had been working there forever. They just made me feel so welcome. There I restocked books, worked on a research project, worked with a project for the kids. And yeah, it was really, 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 really enjoying. But overall, I really enjoyed this program, and I hope to do it again. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Leah Scott, and I want to start off by saying that one of my favorite places to attend would be Cooperative Extension. Not just because it's a camp, but also because of the person that was there that made me feel very comfortable after first 2 days. Some things I learned how to do, learning how to save money, being a smart spender, learning how to budget over time to save up for the luxuries that we do want in life. Also, getting more certified with CPR outside of schooling, learning to work with youth and to have patience with youth. Better to save now than spend later. Also, my trip to the city hall made me become more interested with those type of job careers with like planning and zoning, learning more about what they do for the city. And it opened my eyes to see that people that are like involved in politics are still people too. I came in there expecting like them to be really serious. And the mayor came in there and he was making jokes and stuff, and he just made us feel really comfortable. So it makes me realize, like, even though like everybody's human, you just realize people in those positions are humans at the end of the day too. And the city clerk, I was looking into that. That seems like something I would be interested in when I get older. They play a big part in, recording information, doing stuff for the city, or even weighing in on important decisions. So I thank you.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Santiago Barrera. And first off, I want to say thank you to all of you and all the departments for housing us and giving us the opportunity for this internship. Okay, the first place I want to talk about was the administration office with Miss Karen, because that was definitely an experience of, as a student, you don't really get to go into office work or see really what all of Granville County is about. You learn about it a little bit, but not really in depth of what every person does day to day. With this internship, I got to learn about lots of different career opportunities and what they do day to day. And that really helped open my eyes to really see what I want to be when I grow up, because we're going into our senior years, and this is really when we put an emphasis on what career choices we want to make for the rest of our lives. The administration office, I got to learn about not just all of the county as a whole, but also individual places like Butner, Creedmoor, STEM, not STEM, sorry. And I also got to see what the county, y'all, the county commissioners do. And it has made me realize that office work really is a place that I want to do when I'm older. So I wanted to say thank you to Miss Karen for that. And she was just an amazing person to work under. And I feel like I learned so much. And I would be happy to work with her again in the future. And I also wanted to talk about the cooperative extension with Miss Lina Howe. She was also a great person to work under. I got to learn about working with kids, and they were also a pleasure to work with. We got to learn different skills with the kids about life skills, working on crops and stuff like that. They got to do little tours. And you don't really realize it when you're older and you think you're a big kid, that you can learn a lot from the little kids. They have just such an imagination, and wide eyes, and it was so refreshing to be with them and get to learn from them and get to try to teach them things to try to help them when they get older. And I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. This was an amazing experience to have, even if it's like my summer break and most kids want to like take the summer off. I feel like this is definitely like something that I will value for the rest of my life, this experience, this internship, and like everything that I have done this summer. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Madison Martinez Molina, and first off, I would like to thank you, the Board of Commissioners, for this opportunity. And a big thank you to Ms. Karen Evans and Ms. Lina Howe for keeping me on schedule. As my other fellow companions here today, I was allowed to intern for Granville County. In this internship, I was able to go around and visit each department. Although each and every one of them was extraordinary in their own way, only one stuck out to me, and that is the finance department. I only got a quick visit to it, but what they do is incredible. Some of you might think I'm crazy because of the numbers they see every single day, but those numbers are in some way what makes the government in Granville County possible. Which brings me to my first bulletin point here of why the finance department was my favorite. The department importance for Granville County. The department's staff briefly discuss what they do. They take care of balance sheets, accounts receivables, accounts payable, and so much more. They take care of the money coming in and out, which is crucial. You can't have the government losing money, can you? Additionally, they handle the county's budget for the fiscal year. That's how important this department matters. Without it, the government wouldn't know what to do with the money or where it went. My second point is I'm interested in what they do. I want to major in economics and minor in international business when I go to college. Therefore, I had a taste of what finance is all about. I don't think I would like to work for the government, but I got a glimpse of what I would be working on when I'm older. My last point is the work environment. The environment looks calm, peaceful, and quiet. Now, I only went once for 30 minutes, so I don't know if it got crazy after I went. Other than that, the environment is a great fit for me in the future. To wrap this up, to all of our departments and department heads that volunteered their time to make the summer a success, we learned so much from each and every one of you. Thank you and have a great evening.
I just wanted to read the other departments that volunteered their time. So this was voluntary. You didn't have to choose to be a department that hosted interns. And while we had our favorites, the other ones that we'd like to give an honorary shout out to were animal management, waste management, tourism, human resources, emergency management, and administration, Granville County Cooperative Extension /4-H, and the Department of Social Services. We thank y'all for your collaboration. It wouldn't have been possible without you guys. And thank you to our commissioners and our county manager for sponsoring this program. It really is a great program. We look forward to doing it again next summer. All right. At this time, we're going to present their stipends and their presentations. And their certificates. So first, I'd like to recognize Miss Destiny Harris. Do you want to pose? Perfect, thank you. All right, next, if we could have Miss Jasmine Santiago Barrera. Miss Leah Scott. Oh, hang on, taking a video. There we go. Madison Martinez Molina. And last but not least, Miss Prayley Williams. Good job, guys. That's okay.
While the chairman's coming back up, ladies, I'd just like to say, every year, we have more and more wonderful young people that come to the county to find out what we do. And I feel this is such an important thing because very few people in this county have any idea what goes on in any of these departments, much less all the things you got to do. So thank you very much for what you did. And please spread the word for next year because we'd like to have some guys here too. But it's okay just having girls. It's okay. Thank you very much.
All right, before we leave the Cooperative Extension and 4-H, we've got Lena with our next presentation for the Youth Voice that's coming up this end of this week.
Hope y'all aren't getting tired of me yet, but I promise this is the last thing. So today we'd like to have Miss Kaylee Overby come up and speak about what she does in 4-H and how grateful she is to you guys for sponsoring her trip to Youth Voice. Kaylee is an outstanding 4-H member in Granville County. She's an active member of the Pop Shots 4-H Club and the Granville County Youth Leadership Council. Kaylee's very interested in increasing her leadership skills and civic engagement opportunities through 4-H, making her the perfect candidate to attend the 2024 NCACC Youth Voice. And I'll turn it over to her.
Good evening. My name is Kaylee Overby, and I am looking forward to attending the Youth Voice NCACC annual conference. I'm honored to speak about the impact that Granville County 4-H has had on my life. Through my involvement in this incredible organization, I've gained leadership skills and experienced personal growth that has shaped me into the person I am today. I have had the privilege of serving as the secretary for the Spurs and Buckles 4-H group for 2 years. In this role, I learned the importance of organization, attention to detail, and effective communication, keeping records, managing correspondence, and so on. This taught me how to balance multiple responsibilities and how to work collaboratively with my peers. Currently, I am serving as the treasurer for the Pop Shots 4-H group. This role has further enhanced my leadership abilities by teaching me the importance of financial responsibility and transparency. I manage the funds and make sure that our financial records are accurate and up to date, and this has all been a vital lesson in accountability and integrity. Beyond these roles, my participation in 4-H has allowed me to pursue my passion for shooting sports. I shoot compound archery and .22 pistol. These activities have not only honed my focus and discipline, but have also taught me the value of practice, patience, and perseverance. My involvement with Granville County 4-H extends beyond these groups. I'm also a member of the Granville County Youth Leadership Council, where I serve on the Our Minds Matter campaign and 2 other important projects. This experience has been incredibly rewarding, as it has allowed me to collaborate with young leaders and community to address critical issues and make a positive impact. Through 4-H, I have had the opportunity to meet and collaborate with many inspiring individuals who share my interests and values. This sense of community and support within Granville County has been instrumental in my personal and leadership development. The mentors and peers I have encountered have encouraged me to strive for excellence and lead by example. In conclusion, Granville County 4-H has been a cornerstone in my life, providing me with opportunities to grow as a leader and as an individual. The skills and experiences I have gained through these roles in Spurs and Buckles, Pop Shots 4-H Group, and the Youth Leadership Council will undoubtedly serve me well in all my future endeavors. I am grateful for the positive impact 4-H has had on my life and look forward to continuing to contribute to this wonderful organization. Thank you.
Kaylee, before you leave, I've got a couple questions for you. So were you one of the ones that got to go out to Nebraska to
No.
You didn't get to go?
No.
That was so awesome for all the young people that were able to go out and actually compete
Yeah.
with their guns and bows and arrows.
Yeah, we
So,
have a regional competition in 2 weeks.
oh, awesome. Are you going to get to go to that?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Okay, let us know how you do, okay?
Maybe.
All right, thank you. You're awesome.
We have to get a picture of her with
Oh.
you guys
With us? Oh, yes.
to be displayed at the conference.
We're still using the timer on the screen on these, that's right? All right. Our next item on our agenda is public comment. So as you come to the podium, if you will, please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. Once we get down into the last 30 seconds, a timer will appear on the screen. I will hold up my gavel because I know you're going to be fixated on the board when you're speaking. That'll be a prompt for you to look at any one of the 2 screens to see how the timer goes. If you can keep it within that 3 minutes, that would be outstanding. And if you have a need to give any type of written remarks, we're always open to getting those. So our first speaker tonight will be Mr. Ralph Steele.
Good evening. My name is Ralph Steele. I live 1178 Beaver Dam Road, Creedmoor, Southern Granville County. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys tonight about the disconnect that I and many others experienced during the revaluation of property and the subsequent tax increase. Like many other citizens, I was shocked at the valuation of my property that I received earlier this year. I'm familiar with the rise of property values in the last several years, but the valuation I received was higher than my expectations and pretty much an order of magnitude above the offers I frequently receive in the mail. My first instinct was to appeal, but there was a letter attached to the valuation that explains statute 15911 and the requirement to, quote, identify a revenue-neutral tax rate, stating that, a quote, revenue-neutral tax rate would generate a bill of similar amount to the previous tax year. Now, I'm a curious sort. I looked up the law, and as I thought, there were exceptions for rising costs. I wasn't naive enough, and I'm not now, to assume that I would pay the same thing I did the previous year. Granville County's costs go up just like my costs have went up over the last year, so I understand that. But, so ultimately I decided not to appeal the valuation. Therefore, I expected a modest increase to cover rising costs, but I didn't expect 25%, and I know there are other citizens in the county whose taxes went up even more than mine. Everyone I talked to about or showed the revenue neutral letter to thought it meant the taxes would stay essentially the same for at least this year. Now, I didn't come here tonight to argue about expense A or expense B and whether it's inappropriate or ill-timed. It's more about just ethics in government. As you no doubt know, trust in government is a historic low for a multitude of reasons, and a big one is when the government says one thing and does another. Now, I was raised to treat people the way I want to be treated, and that includes being honest and straightforward in all my transactions. After 40 years plus in fire and rescue, I know that the appearance of impropriety is in fact impropriety. Even if accused with no grounds whatsoever, the stigma is difficult to escape. It's the same with trust. Once lost, trust is difficult or impossible to restore. Given the known financial obligations and needs of the county, I found it difficult to believe that any commissioner actually thought the tax rate would be, quote, revenue neutral when the valuation went out. If this is in fact true, then the honest and straightforward thing to do would have been to attach an addendum to the revenue neutral letter stating that taxes were indeed going to go up and maybe not giving an amount, but indicating they would go up. The failure to do so, at least to me, raises a significant trust issue. This isn't Washington, it isn't Raleigh. We should be able to believe that the people responsible for the finances of Granville County can be trusted. When you send out a letter that uses the phrase, quote, revenue neutral multiple times and even defines what revenue neutral is, you're setting a level of expectation. And given the facts and the evidence at this point, the attachment could be easily seen as being intentionally misleading and disingenuous attempt to forestall criticism and or opposition until the last shoe hit the floor. So my question is can the people of Granville County trust our commissioners, or do we have to scrutinize everything you do to assure that you will act in our best interest? And I know you're not going to answer that, and I don't expect you to because it's a public comment period, but it's a concern because it's not the way I was raised, and I was hoping to find a kindred soul here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, and we appreciate you for staying exactly within your time. Okay. Our next speaker, and I'm going to butcher your name, David Donaldson? Donaldson. And again, if you state your name and your record for the...
He left the mic on. My name is David Donaldson, and my address is 212 Deer Lane, Kittrell, North Carolina. But that's my mailing address. I live 6/10 of a mile off the road, and I actually live in Granville County. I have for the last 40 years. And my comments are much in line with the previous gentleman, maybe a little bit different direction. My property valuation went up 89% this time, and I knew I was going to get a tax raise, and I was expecting a reasonable tax raise. I didn't get the letter he talked about revenue neutral. I expected, 15, 20%. My taxes went up 41.5%. And that's kind of steep, and it shocked me. And I would like to know if somebody can give me a general idea why such a large increase was required. If the 24-25 budget that y'all put in with the tax notice was correct, the county budget only went up 5.92%, 6%. So why am I being required to pay 41% more? Why is he required to pay 25% more? Where's that money going? There is no line item for debt payment. There's no line item for contingency fee. And if I did my math right, you're even giving the schools less money this year than last by about $345,000, which in my personal opinion is a terrible thing to do. But I would like somebody tonight to give me some idea where all this money is going to. Anybody have an answer?
So this is your opportunity for public comment. We may have an answer to your question later in our regular course of business today.
Okay, thank you. Yes, this is my opportunity to comment, and I appreciate it. And I'm not adverse to tax. I believe in tax if it's used appropriately. And I hope in the future that you will see your way clear to use some of this money to increase your allocation to the public schools. I do work for the Granville County Public Schools in a very minor way. And the money I'm making is the same thing I was making 20 years ago. Thank you and good night.
Our next speaker is going to be Ms. Maggie Davis.
Good evening. I'm in the same line as the other previous two speakers.
Ma'am, can you state your name and address, please?
Magda Davies, 2746 Michelle Court, Creedmoor, North Carolina. inflation has gone up 3%. For those of us that are retired, Social Security went up 3.2% in 2024. In 2025, the increase is only going to be 2.63%. My taxes went up 47% on the property taxes. My son's property went up 35%. My other son's property taxes went up 38%. I think we were expecting with the reevaluation that they were going to do the tax neutral. I actually went to the office to have ask questions about it, and they told me, don't worry about it, because although the property tax values are increasing because of the rate neutral, whatever it's called, it's going to have very little impact. It might even go down. Well, I don't think 43%, 44, 38, and 39% is going down. I think this is a terrible burden for a lot of people that are on fixed incomes. I'm a widow. My husband was military retired. He served the Navy for 20 years. I retired in 2015. I'm not the only one in this boat. I've done a thread through the neighbor website, and over 7,000 people reacted to that thread. And I think the minimum wage is still $7.25 on people that work on tips. It's $2.13, which I think is ridiculous, because they have to split that tip with the other people that work in the restaurant. That's not all for them. So people on disability, on SSI, and on Social Security, over 7.2 million people are only getting a 3.2% increase this year. How do we justify doing 40%, 47%, 48, 38, even 25% rate increases on our property taxes? Thank you.
We're well within your time. That was a 30-second warning. Thank you very much for your comments this evening. Next, we'll have Ms. Anna Elliott. If you'll come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Anna Elliott. I live at 2486 Patton Lane in Franklinton. I'm in Granville County. So I just wanted to say good evening. I'm here before you tonight. I just want to say a big thank you to the board and county manager for voting to raise our property taxes. All of you, but Mr. Russ May, voted to raise our taxes in the same year as the property reevaluations. I just want to thank you for that. Ours went up $1,000, and that definitely won't hurt us. I'm sure most Granville County residents, think that's an easy amount of money to fork over, right? I'm currently working 2 full part-time jobs to help my husband pay the bill, so yeah, sure, that'll be easy for us. You'll have to excuse my sarcasm. This is a hit to us, and we already live paycheck to paycheck. So in addition to tax increases, are you aware that the North Carolina Rate Bureau filed a request with the NC Department of Insurance to increase homeowners insurance rates by an average of 42.2%? Thankfully, the Department of Insurance only approved an 8% increase. Do you recognize or even care that if insurance rates had large increases, as well as property taxes, that most of your citizens would have seen a significantly larger monthly escrow payment increase? And I'm sure that you all say, it's great that your property values increase. Sure, but if we get priced out of Granville County with home values and higher taxes, where do we go? I'm quite certain that there are other avenues that could have been taken to fund the budget. Let's start with, say, the Granville County Hospital in Oxford. We own a county hospital that could be sold for millions to help fund this budget, yet we keep this property, and for what reason? It's certainly not to help county residents who cannot afford care or need financial assistance. This past year, I was told that my family didn't qualify for financial assistance because we had some money in our savings account, money that was from a loan earmarked to home improvement that I couldn't touch. We also had an ambulance ride bill that we were making payments on, and I accidentally missed 2 payments.
that sent us straight to have my husband's wages garnished. I guess unless you have Medicaid or Medicare, there's not much help. But if I go to Wake Med or Duke, I can receive financial assistance if I need. It's past time to sell this property and hand it over to a group that can provide better care and assistance to the community. And you guys can maybe get some money to fund some projects. All of this leads me to the budget shortfall as reported in the Oxford Ledger. I find it funny that the county could possibly have lost track of millions of dollars, but I accidentally missed 2 payments, and they send me to wage garnishment with the tax office. The county manager and the commissioners waited until the week after approving this budget to report possible mismanagement or miscalculations of county finances. Sounds fishy to me that this information was brought up after the budget, though, but yet they knew of it. Rumors are the total amount of the shortfall is possibly a cool $3 million. How dare you lose track of $3 million and then have the audacity to raise taxes on the hardworking citizens of Granville County? To say that I'm disappointed in the county manager and commissioners will be an understatement. You have let down the citizens of this county. I'd like to express a very sincere thank you to Russ May for voting no on this tax increase and recognizing the hurt that this would cause the folks in this county. With the world in free fall and a shaky economic future ahead, I appreciate him remembering who he works for, the people of Granville County. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And next we've got Joan Roberson.
I guess I'm sort of here to speak about money too, but it's a different, in a different vein.
Name and address, please.
I'm sorry, my name is Joan Robertson. I live at 502 North Country Club Drive in Oxford. I went to the webpage and looked up the agenda and saw on the consent agenda, which I didn't realize at the time, it was a consent item, that you were voting to give a raise to our director of elections. And I was really surprised by that. I was surprised, number one, that you would even consider giving a raise to this agency and this department and this person. But I was really more surprised that you put it on the consent agenda. I attended the July 1st meeting of the board. And in that meeting, they were talking about how heavy the workload was. And this director indicated that she would like to have more people, more full-time people working there. And so it was asked, you know, how many would she need? What would make her life better, easier, that kind of thing. And she said she would like 4, but she really needed 5. But the county wouldn't supply that. The county wouldn't approve that. The county, I'm assuming being you guys. Because when I looked it up, it says that you approve whether or not money goes in different directions, although the Board of Elections recommends the raise. So I was quite surprised by that. And so I was, in 2023, I was a campaign manager in Oxford only. And so during that time period, I realized that our voter rolls are in a mess. There were 7 people that I knew personally, this doesn't count all the people I don't know, that were deceased. One of them had been on that deceased voter roll for 3 years, being dead. There were 2 people that were registered twice. There were 14 or more that I knew personally who had moved away, that were no longer living in Granville County. They're still on our voter rolls. And as you go to house, from house to house, there were addresses that didn't exist. Some of them didn't even have a vacant lot, so there was never a house there. So there's a lot of stuff that isn't being looked at, isn't being cleaned up. And the worst atrocity of all was in 2022. 6,000 to 8,000 people in this county living in District 3 did not have a chance to vote. There was plenty of time for that vote to have taken place, for that to get on the primary ballot by the director's admission. The state indicated later, after a year's worth of fighting, trying to get somebody to do something about that and rectify the situation in many different approaches toward that, The state admitted that, yes, that election should have taken place. District 3, if anybody lives in District 3 in Granville County, did not have the opportunity to vote in 2022 for the school board representative.
All right, Ms. Robertson, your time has expired. And
Thank
you
you.
very much.
I said all I needed to. Thanks.
Next, we'll have Ms. Wilson.
Always worried I'm going to fall down the stairs. Good evening. My name is Elena Wilson, and I live at 1049 Bluebell Lane in Wake Forest. I wanted to spend a moment to offer my thanks to the Granville County Sheriff's Department, especially Sheriff Fountain, for the recent bust of the gamecock fighting off Lawrence Road. I live just across the road from this hotspot of animal cruelty. Our neighborhood wants to thank you for your continued support in southern Granville County, and we hope to see more animal cruelty charges pursued in the future.
Thank you. We'll have Deja Borders.
Good evening. My name is Deja Borders, and I don't have an address, but our business address is 109 Church Street in Henderson, North Carolina. And I just wanted to introduce myself and my company. We are Genesis Project, and we serve the underserved community of mental health patients and those who are recovering from substance abuse. And we are serving the surrounding 8 counties. And we just wanted to offer our time to you guys to be able to answer any questions or listen to how we can serve your community better, as well as be introduced to anyone who may be able to help us serve the community better. So at the end of the meeting, if I can introduce myself personally, I would love to do that with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. And to round it out, we've got Mr. Mark Griffin.
Good evening, thank you. Just a quick note, the importance of broadband internet service in our community.
Name and address, please.
I'm sorry, I got it wrote down, I even forgot to say it. Mark Griffin's my name, and I live at 1629 Tally Ho Road in Oxford, North Carolina. To go back, the importance of broadband internet service in our community is really important. It is lacking so bad, and I don't know where we have fell short and trying to prod these suppliers to supply our people. Before I go into this, I just want to say that our youth have been robbed. They've been robbed. Back during the time of COVID, they were sitting at home. A lot of people couldn't get on the internet. They were sitting at school, without school, and couldn't get on. They've been robbed, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we won't see that probably in my lifetime, but I guarantee you it's going to be seen in their lifetime, of the time that they have been robbed of that service and not being able to go to school. Representative Sosselman is having 2 forums this week on broadband internet access. The first session is Tuesday, August the 6th, from 4 to 5:30 at the Perry Memorial Library at 205 Breckenridge Street in Henderson, North Carolina. The second session is Wednesday, August the 7th, here in this building, from 4 to 5:30 at 4185 US 15, Oxford, North Carolina. They're also going to have a question and answer session at those 2 forums, and any questions can be directed to Representative Sosselman at 919-733-5824 or at Frank Sosselman at ncleg.gov. I'd like to encourage all residents, everybody, to come out and educate ourselves and ask questions, and let's let these people know that we're going to hold their feet to the fire about providing internet service to our community. I'm sure you all are aware we're less than 50 miles from one of the greatest places in the world at Research Triangle Park, and we're out here living like we're in the caveman times. So please, everybody come out and participate in that forum. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. All right, that concludes our public comments for this evening, for all those who have signed up. Mr. Manager, did you have anything now, or do you want to wait?
Sure. Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Mr. Chair and commissioners and members of the public. We anticipated a little bit the number and variety of comments and concerns about property taxes in the reval tonight, and so I've prepared a few comments about that. So the county's statutory reassessment process, or reval, as everybody has clearly recognized, saw unprecedented changes in the estimated market value of property in the county. I think it's important to remember that the county doesn't set these values, the market sets the values, and we do our best to reflect on people's tax cards what the market would say about the value of their property. We worked hard to get this right with our county tax office as well as our contracted appraisal firm. And there was also a robust and well-advertised appeal process that well over 1,000 county residents took advantage of before the statutory deadline. Many adjustments in values were made. The market works differently in different parts of the county, and so the percentage increase in property values across the county can and did vary significantly. I also want to address some of the questions we've gotten about the revenue neutral rate. In reval years, North Carolina counties are obligated to publish a revenue neutral rate. But as in all years, the commissioners have the authority and the responsibility to set an actual tax rate for the following fiscal year. This tax rate does not have to be the same as the revenue neutral tax rate, and county staff honestly tried to cover that fact in as many ways as we could through materials available at the tax office, on our website, sent out to the public, and also communicated in in-person sessions that we had here and in a variety of other locations around the county. I know there have been some concerns about the level of the tax increase above the revenue neutral rate. The tax rate for the past 6 years remained flat at 84 cents per hundred valuation. The revenue neutral rate was 54 cents per hundred valuation, and the tax rate in the adopted county budget was 63 cents per hundred, effectively a 9-cent tax increase. The fire tax was also kept at 6 cents per hundred valuation rather than dropping it to its revenue neutral rate, which would have been around 3.9 cents per hundred. I want to first point out several reasons why different properties may have experienced different tax increases. First, as I mentioned, the increase in tax value for different properties can and does vary quite significantly across the county. Second, not all properties in the county are subject to the fire tax in the first place, as all the municipalities except for Stovall support their fire departments through their municipal taxes. And third, residents of our 5 municipalities also pay municipal taxes on top of their county taxes, and tax rates in Oxford, Butner, and Creedmoor were also adjusted upwards from their revenue neutral rates, in some cases quite significantly. So starting from that vantage point, what justifications did county management and the county commissioners ultimately see for the increased tax rate and the funds it would generate? On the fire tax, it was my assessment, the assessment of the Fire Commission, and ultimately the assessment of the commissioners that the historic funding levels of our volunteer fire departments were simply not enough to keep them functioning properly. Paid firefighters are more and more necessary to supplement a shrinking and aging pool of volunteers, and the additional funds are also needed to help accommodate rising costs for trucks, equipment, training, and medical first response that the fire departments provide. Second, in a county with a growing and aging population, it's important for the county to continue to invest in its EMS system. New funding in this year's budget will fund an additional ambulance and sufficient new staffing to keep that ambulance on the road 24/7. Pay for employees, particularly public safety employees, had also lagged far behind the market and needed to be adjusted, really, for the safety of the county. The vacancy rates we have experienced over the past few years across the Sheriff's Office, 911, Animal Control, and the Department of Social Services, among others, have been truly challenging, and high vacancy rates tend to snowball by burning out the remaining employees even faster. In my view, we really had no choice but to adjust. We did offer small merit increases of up to 4% for county employees, increases that in most cases merely help them not go backwards relative to inflation. And we have continued to prioritize incremental but important improvements in Granville County's employee health and retirement benefits that will slowly help us become more competitive with surrounding jurisdictions. For example, in the current year's budget, we are covering a somewhat higher portion of employee co-pays so that it's a little easier for them to insure their family members. And though we're still several points behind the market, we have increased our 401k matching by 1% for our employees. In this year's budget, the county has also begun wrestling with how to plan for future capital needs, including and especially for significant deferred maintenance needs at our schools and at Vance Granville Community College, which we are statutorily obligated to support, but also for other needs around the county, including our courthouse and senior centers. The tax increase in the current year budget doesn't address all needs, but it does include 2 cents dedicated to capital needs that will greatly help us keep our county-supported facilities on a good footing. And finally, and this was disappointing, we did have to account for a number of sales tax and sales tax-related revenue streams that performed extremely poorly in fiscal 23-24. Rather than beginning to carve into the bone of critical county services, we made the difficult choice to try to make up some of that with the property tax. Ultimately, the county staff and I studied these needs carefully and made the best recommendation we could to county commissioners, who ultimately approved the budget for this year. The adopted budget helps us continue our work of investing in a better future for Granville County. I appreciate your time and attention, and I look forward to further conversations on this matter. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Our next item on our agenda is to hear from our sheriff. Oh, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Kieran, may I?
Yes, sir.
I think it's important we address broadband. We have received 3 grants on that, and I know, because the audience here, we've received 3 grants on that, and there are statutory requirements which prevent us from doing things with providers that I think is important to know.
Sure. And actually, there's one other comment that came up that I can address easily. Yes, that's right. There are sort of since the beginning of COVID, a number of federal funding streams for broadband expansion. And I've made it a central commitment of this county to pursue those as aggressively as we can. We have currently secured 3 rounds of broadband funding that I think in some will help connect. I'm not sure what the grand total is, 5,000 or 6,000 new locations in the county. That's not everybody, but it's a big dent in the starting with the really truly unserved areas of the county. We will continue to pursue those opportunities. We think there may be another round or 2 of those opportunities. There are opportunities sometimes with a small county match, perhaps in the future with no county match at all. Obviously, those are no-brainers for us to pursue aggressively because we agree it's very difficult for students and anybody really to function properly in this world without good internet access. The other question I wanted to answer, and I think Mr. Donaldson has left, but in fact, the total funding for the county for Granville County Public Schools went up by $1.5 million with a primary focus on meeting deferred capital maintenance needs.
Right. I wanted to, just to be clear that the county government is prohibited by statute.
Yeah.
If you could explain that, because it's not like there is a need. There is a real need.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I forgot that part of your question, but yeah, I think between 10 and 15 years ago, the state legislature outlawed, prohibited local governments of any sort competing directly with private internet service providers. There's one municipal broadband system in the state in Wilson, and it was that spurred the internet lobby to get that law passed. We don't agree with that, wish that weren't a barrier, but at this point we're left to pursue these kind of federal and state incentives that we can kind of help secure, that will allow internet service providers, that sort of changes their calculus for expanding into more rural areas like Granville County.
All right, and now, Sheriff Fountain, come forward. And we've got a item here tonight for approval of a consulting contract renewal, and I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've spoken to Sheriff Fountain about this matter, and what I would like to recommend to the board is that we continue the current contract with Mr. Bayless in effect through September 30th. That will give the Sheriff, Mr. Bayless, and I to discuss a few things and bring it back to the board for further review and approval.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. First, give it honor to God, everything that he does for us and through us. Myself, the county manager, also had the conversation today that we would like to just put this on hold for a few more days or a few more weeks or months, couple months, just to make sure we're moving in the right direction with this process. Because we're trying to kind of shape it a little differently that's more appealing to the board. So we would ask your consideration to just table this for, we'd say till September, end of September.
So I think the proposal is actually to approve it for a shorter time period than originally contemplated.
Not the one in the agenda, the current contract, the one that we currently have, would just be extending the current contract that's in place through September 30th. And
Excuse me, of 2024, not next, okay.
right, just through September 30th of this year, yes, ma'am.
Okay. The board, you've heard from our attorney and our sheriff. Are there any questions? What's the pleasure of the board on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the recommendation coming forth to extend the current contract of Mr. Bayless through September 30th, 2024.
Got a motion by Commissioner Cozart, seconded by Commissioner Jay. Are there any questions on that motion? And we're going to be extending that contract for Mr. Bayless until 30th of September 2024. Okay, seeing no questions, what's the pleasure of the, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, and
thank you, sir.
To the staff, my staff, always got to praise them for the work they do. It was a busy week last week, and we will see more charges coming out of that event. And we're working with the federal government to do some things. Immigration is working with us on deporting some of these guys. Homeland Security is already working with us, and we're going to continue to pursue other individuals that abandoned their $100,000 trucks, and they're sitting at the Granville County Sheriff's Office right now. And I will seek asset forfeiture on every piece of equipment that I can. But again, thank you to the community. Thank you for everybody that supported us. Terry Hobgood, 911 Communications, Animal Shelter, all the supporting agencies that helped us out, State Highway Patrol, ALE. It was a collaborative effort that took us a little time to get it going. It started Friday, ended Sunday morning around 1 o'clock Sunday morning. So thank you for your support.
Great work, Sheriff. Thank you. Next, we've got some facility improvements, and we're approving, and we're going to have Scott Phillips, our Director of Development Services, here tonight. We're going to be approving it of heating and cooling units, and I'll let you take it
Good
away.
evening, Granville County Commissioners, County Manager. This request is consider awarding a fixed price service agreement for replacement of 2 heating and cooling units for the Granville County Courthouse. The 2 3-ton units provide conditioned air for the basement document storage areas. The existing units are 36 years old and have outlived their anticipated life cycle. Granville County requested fixed price proposals from area service providers. 2 proposals were received and the third was non-responsive. The proposed systems have been evaluated by Killing Engineering for performance and price, and we are recommending the single-stage compressor unit with a variable speed air handling control to remove the excessive humidity commonly found in a basement environment. This procurement process is in accordance with the Granville County Contract and Purchasing Policy, and the funding for this capital expenditure is included within our fiscal year 24-25 capital maintenance budget. The Granville County Development Services Director recommends awarding the fixed price service contract to Gupton Services Incorporated for an amount not to exceed $18,524 unless authorized by an approved change order request, and authorize the county attorney to finalize the contract and the county manager to execute the contract document. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Are there any questions from the board members?
Are these items that will be replaced when we actually do the renovations of the courthouse?
Probably not, no. Right now, with the performance of those 36-year-old units, we're building up some humidity in the basement area, so it's probably, they haven't failed yet, but we're trying to be proactive by going ahead and replacing them.
I've been down there. It is very humid down there, so thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the contract as presented by Mr. Phillips.
And second. I second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner Wilford, seconded by Commissioner Gooch to accept our recommendation of our Development Services Director that you have before you. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Your mic cut off.
This request considers awarding a unit price service agreement for construction materials testing for the North Granville Senior Center located at 303 Oxford Street in Stovall. To ensure the quality of work and materials used in construction of our new facility, third-party construction material testing services are needed. Elements tested for compliance include, but are not limited to, soil compaction, concrete material testing, soil bearing capacity of foundation soils, and the density of asphalt pavements. Granville County solicited several testing firms for services and unit price schedules, and found ESP Associates to have the best understanding of the project demands. Although ESP Associates Incorporated has estimated a budget for the services to be $36,666, the ultimate cost will be determined by the contractor's schedule and methods used in construction. This procedure is in accordance with Section 5B of the Granville County Contract and Purchasing Policy. Funding for this service is included within North Granville Senior Center Capital Project Fund. It's the Granville County Development Services Director to exempt the county from the requirements of the Minnie Brooks Act based on the fees are estimated less than $50,000, and awarding the unit price service agreement to ESP Associates for an estimated amount of $36,666, and authorize the county attorney to finalize the contract and county manager to execute the contract document. We also recommend a contingency of $10,000 for services not anticipated based on the contractor's schedule and methods of construction. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Phillips, just to make sure the public understands, this money was already budgeted in the North
Yes, sir. It's in our
Granville.
project ordinance for that project.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Gooch, seconded by Commissioner Jay. Are there any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. And next, we've got Joe Stallings, our Economic Development Director, here this evening. We're going to talk about a preliminary approval.
Good evening, Chairman and County Commissioners. Pleasure to be before you this evening. Tonight's before you is a preliminary approval for an effort through the North Carolina Department of Commerce, Main Street and Rural Planning Center to conduct a 5-year countywide economic development strategic plan initiative. Met in June of '24 with representatives from that department and gained insight into how they would work with us to develop a strategic plan for our economic development efforts here in Granville County. To my knowledge, we do not have one of those currently, or have not had one in some time, and believe that now makes a lot of sense for us to put one in place. This initiative was put forward to our Economic Development Advisory Board at our last meeting. They concurred that this made sense for the county to consider. And so before you this evening is at a preliminary approval for this type of strategy to be put together. If you all okay this initiative, we'll go back, prepare the formal documents to be reviewed by you all at your September board meeting.
All right, are there any questions for Mr. Stallings? Okay,
Mr. Chair, can I have just 1 second, please?
yes, sir.
While Commissioner May is waiting, Mr. Stallings, could you let the board know what the county match for this strategic plan would be?
It's my pleasure, yes.
That's where I was going, thank you.
The North Carolina Department of Commerce is going to charge us no more than $600. And I think some of the great initiatives and great things that will come out of this, not just research on our, labor force and things of that nature, but when we look at asset mapping, retail market snapshots, countywide surveys, economic development positioning and visioning, but also conducting focus groups throughout the county so that more of our citizens have a part to play in our economic development future and how the strategic plan is laid out. So it is not just the nuts and bolts of the data, but also about community outreach and community involvement as we begin to plan our next 5 years in the ways of economic development for the county. And it's at a rate we can't beat.
County Manager, Mr. Chair, I make a motion we approve the Economic Development Director Joe Stallings' recommendation for this study.
Second.
Okay. We've got Commissioner May, motion to accept the recommendation of our Economic Development Director and seconded by Commissioner Williford. Are there any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, Jim. Now we've got emergency communications, and we've Ms. Stacy Hicks, our Emergency Communications Director, here with us this evening.
Good evening, Chair, Karen, and Board. The purpose of this item is the approval of the purchase and installation of the TDMA radio upgrade for the Emergency Communications Center. The Voice Interoperability Plan for Emergency Responders, or better known as the VIPER system, which is used by Granville County for emergency communications, is undergoing a significant upgrade to their time division multiple access technology, or TDMA. TDMA allows for more efficient use of radio frequencies by splitting each channel into 2 separate talk paths, effectively doubling the capacity for concurrent conversations without the need for additional base stations. This upgrade is essential to ensure that our communication infrastructure remains current and can handle increasing demands. By upgrading to TDMA, we will enhance the reliability and effectiveness of our emergency response capabilities. To comply with the VIPER system's new requirements, all radios by the Emergency Communications Center must be TDMA ready by July 1st, 2025. This includes upgrading our existing radios or replacing those that cannot be upgraded. The total cost for the TDMA radio upgrade is $30,037.75. Funding is available in the fiscal year 25 repair and maintenance budget line item. This recommendation is for the approval of the TDMA radio upgrade from Motorola Solutions in the amount of $30,037.75 from the fiscal year 2025 budget. I further recommend authorizing the county manager to execute the contract once finalized by the county attorney. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
The board have any questions?
I do. So the VIPER system, that's not only used by our sheriff's department, but the state police and...
Yeah, for everybody who operates a radio system in Granville County, they have to use the VIPER network.
Good. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, you have the recommendation before you. There is one small typo, a 40-cent difference. It should be $30,037.75. In the recommendation line, it has 35, but...
Make a motion we approve as recommended.
Okay.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Wilford, to accept our Emergency Communication Director's recommendation. Are there any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've got another one, right?
I do. So the second item, the purpose of this one is to approve the renewal of the license service agreement with Priority Dispatch for our emergency medical dispatch and our emergency fire dispatch services. The Emergency Communication System Center uses the Priority Dispatch system to provide pre-arrival instructions and to prioritize emergency responses for both medical and fire incidents. The Priority Dispatch system includes the software and the technical support necessary to ensure that our telecommunicators can effectively manage emergency calls and provide vital instructions to callers. The current service agreement with Priority Dispatch is set to expire, and renewing this contract is essential to maintain the high standard of emergency response in Granville County. Priority Dispatch has been a reliable partner, offering consistent support and updates to their protocols and software, which are critical for our operations. The renewal contract covers licensing, technical support, and updates to the most recent protocols and software releases, as well as additional services such as on-site training and others that are outlined in your agenda packet. This renewal ensures our dispatchers have access to the latest tools and necessary training for efficient and effective emergency response. The total cost for the renewal of this service agreement is $10,240. Funding is available in the Emergency Telephone System Fund for fiscal year '25. This recommendation is for the approval of the renewal of the license agreement from Priority Dispatch, again, in the amount of $10,240 for fiscal year 2025 budget. I further recommend that the Board of Commissioners authorize the county manager to execute the contract once finalized by the county attorney.
Okay, Commissioners, you have the recommendation of our Emergency Communication Director. Are there any questions? Yeah, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve. Second motion.
Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner Gooch, seconded by Commissioner Cozart to approve our Emergency Communications Director recommendation on this contract. Any questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
We've got some appointments that need to be made this evening. First, we've got the Industrial Facilities and Pollution Control Financing Authority. The terms of Chris Bass, District 5, expire in July, and Mr. Bass is eligible for reappointment, and District 7 has a vacancy, a vacant term. So we'll start with District 5.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we reappoint Mr. Chris Bass.
Second motion.
We've got a motion by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Cozart to reappoint Mr. Chris Bass for District 5. Any questions on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
And Mr. Chair, if you will, hold District 7 until our next meeting.
We will do that. Next, we've got the Research Triangle Region Partnership, or better known as the acronym of RP, and to make an appointment or a reappointment to the Research Triangle Board. So the term of Javier Hernandez expired in June. He is eligible for reappointment, and the term is for 2 years. I believe he was out of the country. We weren't able to get up with him to find out if he would be willing to serve again. Oh. Sorry, Joe. Didn't see it over there.
Sorry, a quick correction. Mr. Hernandez, on behalf of ONTIC, chose not to be reappointed. Our VP, our local VP, wanted to be Joshua Florio, and I apologize for that. but Joshua Florio is the VP of ONTIC. It would be Javier's supervisor. If we can just make that change, he will, has agreed to be our representative on the RTRP board. Joshua Florio, Florio.
You heard the recommendation from our Economic Development Director. What's the pleasure of the board?
I move to approve the appointment as recommended, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Cozart, seconded by Commissioner Gooch, to accept the recommendation of our Economic Development Director for the name of Joshua Florio. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, that'll bring us to our county manager report. Do you have anything else this evening?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have two items. First one is quick and happy one. I just wanted to thank all of our staff who worked with those amazing youth who are part of our Summer Youth Civic Leadership Program. That was a really a neat set of presentations, and I would say, while I echo Commissioner Himmon's thoughts, the boys definitely have some work to do. That's a tough crowd to follow and keep up with. So I appreciate our staff who worked with them and helped them have such a good summer experience. Second item I wanted to quickly address is just to spend a few minutes addressing some budget-related issues tied to the county's recently adopted budget, and also dispelling some incorrect rumors about those issues. Let me start with the rumors. There are no missing funds, and there has been no misappropriation of funds. We have full funding reserved for all of our economic development incentive contracts, and there are no current grant agreements with Vance Granville Community College, never mind anywhere the county is not meeting its match obligation. It is true that after the current year's budget was adopted, I realized that not all the funding we had been modeling in a draft capital improvement plan had been fully included in this year's budget as I had intended. As the budget officer for the county, I take responsibility for that error. Beyond that, however, I want to point out and really emphasize that there are sufficient revenues in the adopted budget and available this year for all of the specific commitments the board made for this year, including significant new capital outlay funding for both Granville County Public Schools, as well as Vance Granville Community College, and new debt service for the North Granville Senior Center. I appreciate the time, and I'm happy to answer any questions commissioners may have. If there are none, Mr. Chair, that concludes my report for the evening.
Are there any questions from board members?
I got one. It's okay, Mr. Chair. So I listened to the public comments tonight about the tax difference, and, 19% increase county taxes, and then understanding that a municipality, that was compounded by the municipality tax. But when I hear someone say that lives in the unincorporated area county that they had a 41% increase in their taxes, and then someone said they had a 43, and then you have someone says, well, I had a lesser number. Can you square that for me?
It's a little bit hard to kind of answer sort of the concerns that a particular property owner may have. I've talked with quite a few citizens after the adoption of the budget and after the arrival of the new tax bills. Some of them had, in addition to kind of the regular market appreciation, had added onto their properties. As I mentioned in my earlier comments, properties in different parts of the county appreciated at very different rates, and different kinds of property also appreciated at very different rates. And so all of those factors can lead into the percentage increase that a particular owner of a particular piece of property might have seen. And you mentioned, right, if you take out the wild card of municipal rates, what remains really is sort of the
the particulars of that property, its location, any additions that might have been made, its location, its condition, the type of building that it is, and so on. Does that answer your question?
It does, and can you provide for the public, come January, what are any opportunities someone can have in regards to their tax appraisal?
So that, if there has been an administrative error in the sense that if the square footage on a tax card is incorrect, or there's another kind of clear misclassification, those I believe can be corrected at any time.
If you'll give me just a moment, I'll read the statutory reasons, which may be the best summary of that. Just bear with me just a second.
I agree with that. Let's wait for the county attorney.
Okay, so this is General Statute 105-287. Just trying to load it where I can see it. Okay. In a year in which a general reappraisal of real property in the county is not made under General Statute 105-286, the property shall be listed at the value assigned when last appraised, unless the value is changed in accordance with this section. The assessor shall increase or decrease the appraised value of real property as determined under General Statute 105-286 to recognize a change in the property's value resulting from one or more of the following reasons. So I'll stop there and just say what that introductory sentence or paragraph says is that it's presumed that the property is valued at the value it held on the last reval date. So the reasons that you could deviate from that would be to, 1, correct a clerical or mathematical error, 2, to correct an appraisal error resulting from a misapplication of the schedule, standards, and rules used in the county's most recent general reappraisal, 2A, recognize an increase or decrease in the value of the property resulting from a conservation or preservation agreement, subject to Article 4 of Chapter 121 of the General Statutes, the Conservation and Historic Preservation Agreements Act. 2B, recognize an increase or decrease in the value of the property resulting from a physical change to the land or to the improvements on the land other than a change listed in subsection B of the section. 2C, recognize an increase or decrease in the value of the property resulting from a change in the legally permitted use of the property. 3, recognize an increase or decrease in the value of the property resulting from a factor other than one listed in subsection B. And subsection B says, in a year in which a general reappraisal of real property in the county is not made, the assessor may not increase or decrease the appraised value of real property as determined by 105-286 to recognize a change in value caused by 1, normal physical depreciation of improvements, 2, inflation, deflation, or other economic changes affecting the county in general, or 3, betterments to the property made by repainting buildings or other structures, terracing or other methods of soil conservation, landscape gardening, protecting forests against fire, or impounding water on marsh land for non-commercial purposes to preserve or enhance the natural habitat of wildlife. So, again, that may have been more detailed than it would seem apparent, but I'm happy to answer any questions, go into any more detail if you'd like more.
I just want to make sure that we put out ample notice prior to January so that if people believe that there could be a lawful adjustment, that they're provided with that information.
And I guess the way to summarize that is there can be lawful adjustments for specifically recognized statutory reasons, but it's not a second bite at the apple if you didn't appeal this year.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for the manager? And then if not, we'll move on to the county attorney's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The matter I have on the agenda tonight is a resolution authorizing execution of the Kroger opioid settlement and approving the second supplemental agreement for additional funds. As you all, I believe, know, a settlement agreement was reached by Nationwide Council in the Kroger opioid litigation matter. And of the $1 billion, I'm sorry, yeah, $1.37 billion settlement, my understanding is a maximum of just over $40 million may be allocated to North Carolina state and local governments between 2024 and 2034 to address the opioid crisis. If all relevant, sorry, I lost my place. If all relevant requirements are met, and so what we're asking for you to do is just give us the authority to execute the paperwork necessary for us to join into that settlement agreement and be eligible to receive the proceeds.
Can I have a question?
Sure.
Are all other counties participating in this?
That's my understanding. I can't 100% guarantee you all other counties are, but this is recommended by the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. And what we've been told is that they're not aware of any counties who are not either have already approved this or plan to approve it. It has to be approved by August 12th, so there could be some additional ones who just planned to approve it and hadn't actually approved it. Could be in the same situation we are tonight.
Do you have an opinion on that, Mr. County Attorney?
It seems that if you don't approve it, you would be outside of the norm and you'd be leaving money on the table. I can't speak to the policy reasons or the actual merits of the litigation, but it is something that's been litigated on a nationwide basis, and you would be an outlier in leaving money on the table that other counties have access.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we proceed with the litigation.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner Williford, seconded by Commissioner Gooch, to accept our county attorney's recommendation and that of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, and can join with this resolution the lawsuit against Kroger. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Do you have anything else, Mr. Attorney?
I don't have anything else. Thank you. All right, that will bring us to reports and comments from our board members. Mr. Gooch, you're up first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank our young ladies from the Summer Civic Youth Leadership Program, the interns. I think they did a wonderful job. It's always heartwarming to see young people who already have a purpose and a direction in life that they're heading. And they know more about it at their age than I did mine at 25. So it's especially good to see this. And also, I'd like to thank our county manager for all the work he's put in and the heat he's taken, and hang in there. And that's my comments for tonight. Thank you.
Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just like to echo about the Summer Civic and Ms. Hammer. Our boys gonna do better next year. We're gonna get some young men to help out next year. But look like our young ladies is taking the lead in the last couple of years. So I hope and pray that next year that we get some young men in there and help out. But anyway, also just like to say thanks, County Manager, and those that came out tonight to listen and to your comments, to ask your questions and everything. And we appreciate you everything that you do for the county. And thankful staff. We see you back there in the audience. We thank you. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Wilford?
Quickly, I'd like to thank the staff, county manager, shout out to the sheriff's department for the fine work they did down at the southern end of the county last week. Appreciate you getting that out of Granville County. That's all I have tonight.
Okay. Commissioner Hinman?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Mark Griffin for bringing and reminding everybody about the broadband information that Mr. Salzman has going on next week or this week. Unfortunately, I can't go. I will be on my way to meet with these young ladies to eat breakfast with them. So please take good notes so that we get that information. Second of all, I would like to thank the DSS board and DSS, not board, but the DSS director and all the young women that went with us. There were no guys, no, there was one guy. Joe was there. I'm sorry. I apologize. But it was so awesome to get with these people and find out more about what our DSS department does. And with being the chair of the board for the DSS department, these let people work hard. They really, really do to try to save our senior citizens, our young people. I mean, it's just amazing as to what they do. And to learn more what we could do as board members to support them it's just my thing that I look forward to every year, just to find out what more I can do for them to support them. And they were awesome to get to go out and eat and learn and meet these people and learn that we had somebody have a birthday that she didn't even know about. But that's all I have this evening.
Commissioner Cozart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mrs. Toussaint. You're putting together quite a team there, and I congratulate you on that. The students tonight, all I can say is I'm just so impressed with how articulate they were and how proud I am of the work they're doing. Also, teachers are back. I missed convocation this morning, but we wish all of our students and staff a safe and successful school year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, you were lucky you weren't there. We had to park in Henderson to get there, to be able to be there. No, I'm just teasing. It wasn't quite Henderson, but it felt like it.
Commissioner May.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for those that came to speak tonight. Each one of you, your concerns, they're appreciated, and we're listening. And thank you for that. I hope that broadband will continue the enhancements and every opportunity that we have to apply for a grant. We'll do our very best to be able to match that. I do know in the last grant that we are looking, hopefully, at possibility, and Ms. Weichel may correct me on this, but maybe for reimbursement of that, if it works out, may occur. So we're hopeful. But any opportunities that we have, we'll continue to pursue. I wanted to talk about two studies that are going on in the county right now, the Campo Corridor Study, and that's beginning to lift off, and then the Blueprint for Safety, which DOT Blueprint for Safety through Campo as well. And there's two things. You'll see some of these at various locations throughout the county, and they'll have a bunch of questions that it may ask you, and people standing by some things, and you can tag what you'd like to see happen, what you'd like to see through these studies. I too would like to commend the Sheriff's Office for the work that they did on the cockfighting incident. Those are difficult investigations, require a lot of resources, a lot of investigative ingenuity and innovation. I am thankful that the operation was conducted safely and that most of those that were involved were apprehended, and I'm confident that justice will prevail. So thank you, Sheriff Fountain, and thank the men and women in the Sheriff's Department for doing that as well. Sheriff's Office, excuse me, Sheriff. Mr. Wren, could you please explain, we had a citizen speak tonight about the Board of Elections and how that works in regards to how this board comes to that in regards to the statutory guidance in regards to the merit pay or pay increase of the Director of Board of Elections here in Granville.
Thank you, Commissioner May. As you all know, the general statute set a distinction between the Board of Elections, which is independently appointed, and the County Board of Commissioners. And one of the primary reasons for this is to preserve the independence and integrity of elections. And so the statutes are set up in a way that limit and prevent commissioners' influence on the Board of Elections. And so North Carolina General Statute 163-35C addresses the compensation of directors of elections. And that provision states that compensation paid to directors of elections in all counties maintaining full-time registration shall be in the form of a salary and amount recommended by the County Board of Elections and approved by by the Board of County Commissioners, and shall be commensurate with the salary paid to directors in counties similarly situated and similar in population and number of registered voters. And so I know the State Board of Elections attorney in the past has told me that they take the position that so long as the salary recommended by the County Board of Elections is in line with what other county boards of elections similarly situated are doing, then this board really doesn't serve a role in evaluating the performance of the elections director, and its role is really to receive that, and as long as it's within that range, approve that level of compensation. So this board does not conduct a performance review of the Board of Elections director. It simply receives that compensation report and has to act on it and determine whether it's commensurate with the salary paid to directors in counties similarly situated.
And in this case, was the salary commensurate with the similar situated counties?
My understanding is that the information provided by the chairman of the Board of Elections showed that it was within the range for somebody with Director Burnett's experience that would be commensurate with other boards of elections.
Thank you, County Attorney.
You're welcome.
All right. Mine's going to be very brief this evening. I want to commend the Sheriff's Office for their great work. I noticed there's been some social media reports around some drug busts going on. I appreciate your officers for being out there and keeping us safe and handling those kind of things. It's get the scourge off the street. Appreciate you and your people. The rest of our staff, and I know you do yeoman's work and lift heavy, and it's discouraging when folks are not happy, but unfortunately that kind of goes with the role of county government, and we're no strangers to it either. I think we've all fielded our share of phone calls and have to look at our own wallets and figure out where we're going to dig that property tax increase from, so we're not immune to that. One point I want to talk about tonight, as I close briefly, is we've had a really wet season here lately, and there is more storms coming. I think her name is Debbie. So I know down in the southern end, you've got some transportation issues around Woodland Church Road and Graham Sharon Road. There's some washouts. The saying of turn around, don't drown. If the water's deeper than your tires, it will float your car. So let's everybody be safe. If you notice while you're on the roads that there's a problem, even a pothole, if you go to NCDOT and just type in the word pothole, it will take you to a fillable screen. You put the nearest address to the pothole and any description you'd like to say. It's 3 questions: address, county, and location details. And they will send someone out. We are the DOT's eyes and ears. They don't travel all the roads in the state of North Carolina. And certainly as Granville County, we don't have a stake in that game other than from a planning perspective. We do work with our partners at DOT. But that is the quickest way to get a response. If you hit it, go on the website, put it in. That same thing goes for culverts washed out, if there's roads flooded. Those things, if you report them to DOT, you'll be doing all your neighbors a favor. So let's be safe and conscious. If you run a generator, make sure it's well vented. Help your neighbors. Don't backfeed the panel, yada, yada. So let's be safe out there and protect each other. So with that, do we have any other matters to come before this board?
Do you have a closed session?
So we do not have a closed session, but there's going to be a couple of us who are going to chat. So it won't be a board issue. So
I make a motion that we close then.
I second motion, Mr. Chairman.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Hinman and seconded by Commissioner Cozart to close this meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Sheriff,
Any
don't leave.
opposed?
I got a
Like sign?
question for you. And Ms. Tucson, I have a question for you too.
We are adjourned.
And Mr. Katz, I have something for you.
So that was fun.